Have you ever watched a room full of successful people laugh at someone who had done nothing wrong? Have you ever seen a person become invisible simply because of the uniform they were wearing? I never imagined that one sentence could change an entire evening, but that night, it changed more than I could have imagined. Sometimes kindness doesn't require money, power, or influence. Sometimes it only takes the courage to stand beside someone everyone else has decided to ignore. What happened that evening reminded me that the greatest measure of a person is not how they treat important people, but how they treat those who expect nothing in return. Before we begin, welcome to Kindness Story. If stories that restore your faith in humanity mean something to you, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more true-to-life stories that remind the world kindness still exists. I had been invited to a charity gala in downtown Chicago. It was one of those elegant evenings filled with expensive suits, sparkling dresses, and conversations about business, success, and influence. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, soft music played in the background, and waiters moved quietly through the crowd carrying silver trays. I wasn't there because I was wealthy. I had built a small construction company over many years, and one of my clients had invited me. I felt grateful just to be included. As I waited near the entrance, I noticed a woman carefully wiping fingerprints from the glass doors. She wore a blue cleaning uniform, comfortable sneakers, and her dark hair was tied neatly behind her head. She looked exhausted, but every time someone walked past, she smiled politely. Most guests never looked at her. Some even walked directly across the floor she had just cleaned without saying a single word. When I smiled and thanked her for keeping the place beautiful, she looked surprised. "You don't have to thank me," she said softly. "I do," I replied. "You're working hard so the rest of us can enjoy tonight." Her smile became a little brighter. A few minutes later, I walked inside and joined the reception. People laughed loudly around polished tables while photographers took pictures of important guests. Suddenly I noticed the same woman standing near the back of the ballroom. She wasn't cleaning anymore. She stood quietly beside the wall, holding a small envelope. Several guests began whispering. "Why is the cleaning lady still here? Did someone forget to tell her employees aren't part of the party?" Then came the laughter. Not loud enough to stop the music, but loud enough to hurt. The woman lowered her eyes and took a small step backward. At that moment, I realized she wasn't supposed to be cleaning anymore. She was waiting. Waiting for someone. A man wearing an expensive tuxedo walked toward her with an annoyed expression. "I'm sorry," he said coldly. "The staff entrance is around the back." She quietly answered, "I know, sir. I was invited." More laughter followed. Someone nearby muttered, "Invited? Right." The room suddenly felt much colder. Without thinking twice, I walked across the ballroom until I was standing beside her. The manager looked at me. "Sir, we're handling this." I smiled calmly. "No," I said. I turned toward the woman. "She's with me." The room became completely silent. Dozens of faces turned toward us. The woman looked confused. "You don't have to," she whispered. "Yes," I said gently. "I do." I offered my arm. For a moment she hesitated. Then she accepted. Together we walked deeper into the ballroom while hundreds of eyes followed us. I could almost hear people wondering who she really was. Was she my relative? A business partner? Someone famous? The truth was much simpler. She was a human being who deserved respect. We sat together at one of the tables. I introduced myself properly. "My name is Daniel." She smiled. "I'm Maria." She explained she had worked as a cleaner in that hotel for almost 11 years. She cleaned offices during the day and event halls at night to support her teenage son after her husband passed away from cancer. The envelope she carried contained an invitation from the charity organizers. Several employees had been secretly nominated by co-workers for their years of outstanding service. Maria had one. She wasn't there to clean. She was there to be honored. Unfortunately, nobody had bothered to read the invitation before judging her. A few minutes later the master of ceremonies stepped onto the stage. "Tonight," he announced, "we celebrate people whose kindness often goes unnoticed." He called Maria's name. The ballroom became silent again. She slowly walked onto the stage. The audience watched as a short video appeared on the large screen. Housekeepers, janitors, kitchen workers, security guards. Every employee spoke about Maria. One man said she brought breakfast for co-workers who couldn't afford food. Another explained she stayed late every winter to help elderly guests safely reach their cars. A young waitress fought back tears as she shared how Maria secretly paid for her school books after learning she wanted to become a nurse. Then the hotel owner stepped forward. "I've owned this building for 20 years, he said. "If every employee had Maria's heart, this would be the finest hotel in America." People who had laughed only minutes earlier slowly lowered their heads. Many couldn't even look at her. Maria accepted the award with trembling hands. She looked across the room until our eyes met. Then she smiled. "I only have one thing to say," she began. "Tonight, many people noticed my uniform before they noticed me." She paused. But one stranger saw the person first. Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you for reminding me that kindness still exists." The audience rose to its feet. This time, the applause was real. Not because she had received an award. Because everyone had finally seen what had been standing in front of them all along. After the ceremony ended, several guests approached Maria to apologize. Some admitted they had judged her unfairly. Others simply thanked her for inspiring them. As we walked toward the parking lot later that evening, Maria looked up at the stars. "I almost left," she admitted. "If you hadn't spoken." I smiled. "I'm glad you stayed." She laughed softly. "So am I." Months later I received a handwritten letter. Maria told me her son had graduated from college with honors. She also shared that the hotel had promoted her to supervisor because so many employees respected her leadership. At the bottom of the letter she wrote one sentence I will never forget. "Sometimes people don't need someone to rescue them. They only need someone willing to stand beside them." I keep that letter in my office to this day. Whenever life becomes busy and I begin worrying about money, deadlines, or success, I read it again. Because success fades. Awards collect dust. Fancy clothes go out of style. But one act of kindness can become part of someone's story forever. If this story touched your heart, remember this the next time you meet someone whose job others overlook. Look them in the eye. Smile. Say thank you. Treat them with the same respect you would offer anyone else. You never know how much that simple kindness could mean. And perhaps, just like that unforgettable evening, your kindness might become the reason someone believes in people again.